what's happened is the US has given permission for Ukraine to use some of its long-range precision strike munitions, in particular the ATACMs, which is an army tactical missile system, to strike targets inside Russia proper. Now, why it's significant is previously the ATACMs have been used actually to hit targets inside Crimea, which Russia views as proper, but obviously there's a minor debate about that. But this would be the first time they've been used to target inside Russia, significantly inside Russia. It seems that the precursor to this may have been the introduction of North Korean troops, first of all, but more importantly, actually, there's some reports that the North Koreans have actually sent 20 missile rocket launcher systems, MLRS, multiple launch rocket systems. If they send 20 of those, depending on the rockets, they can have ranges out to, 60, 70 miles. And then I can see the National Security Council in the States being like, okay, well, the North Korea have done this. That means that we can do this in a similar calibrated way to the sort of support that North Korea has given Russia. Yeah, in the one hand, I think it's too late to have a major strategic effect. I think the ultimate kind of impact it will have is to probably slow down the tempo of the Russian offensives, which are now happening, look like to be happening or gearing up towards around Kursk. They're happening on multiple parts of the axis in the Donbass, and there's some reports that there's a build-up happening in Zaporizhia too, further to the southwest. So it would probably, depending on the amount of ATACMs which come in, and also the clearance from the UK and France to use the Storm Shadow and Scalps, which are air launched. I mean, the combined effect of those could, slow things down. And I think that would be, you look at the slowing down the tempo of Russian operations over this winter would be actually pretty useful to the Ukrainians if they're going to be coming to the table in negotiations in spring. I think there's been this reluctance basically looking at the precedent and the risk of escalation. And I think things have changed because the North Koreans have entered, not only with their troops, which, to be honest with you, we'll see how much of a difference they make, but these multiple launch rocket systems and the supply of artillery. Then the US administration can go, actually, do you know what? You're doing that. You've done this first. You have a third party that's entered this. Of course, the Russians will say, well, we're taking back our territory. We're fighting on our territory. But I think it's sort of switched the dial a little bit on the calculus. Okay, right there, you presume that the US is going to ship more now, and that takes weeks to get in, probably, depending on from the send, no send, depending on how rushed that is, but I would have thought weeks. At which point, Trump could come in on the 20th of January and go, right, we're not doing this anymore. I mean, I think Biden has kind of put him into a bit of he's made the decision for him, and I think Trump would probably not cancel this immediately because you want the leverage that it brings with the Russians. That's what my hunch is. You wouldn't just go, okay, we're stopping this. But I don't know. Ukraine has ATACMs. It has received them, and it has the launchers to fire them. So it's pretty good at using them, and it has a history of using them, as I said, in Crimea and inside occupied Ukraine. So the difference is taking the reins off in this particular, and I think it's probably going to be territorially limited around Kursk, but let's see. So that's the difference. People are scared that this is going to result in nuclear war. I don't think it is at all. I think the Kremlin won't be happy with it, but the rules of the game are essentially you can go toe-to-toe with another superpower in a kind of proxy war, and it can remain conventional. That you can basically throw everything at a conventional. The way to think about this is both sides probably can't sustain this war at its current tempo and cost. But Russia can sustain it a bit longer at the moment. The real thing for Ukraine is manpower, actually. The artillery now and the ammunition isn't too bad, but it's the manpower. The mobilization in the summer, it generated some people, enough new conscripts for a time, but it's not being maintained. And And the older people that are getting called up because they haven't dropped the age to the young people are like not really, a lot of them aren't really of the fitness and health levels to get into the infantry, which is where the losses are and where you need people. So